Hey, probably 2 or 3 videos today, shorter ones back to back, and I'll do them separately because some important issues came up. Want to give you some great tips on what to do with your home, no matter what your budget is, as a designer of homes and also landscape. So both of those things are my calling in life. I've done them all. I've done health and wellness and how all of this interacts together for our health and your family's health and well-being. This was inspired by Kate Awakening last night, mentioned something about a disease that to many children, mostly children, babies, that crawl around on a floor and are touching toxic substances in the carpet and the fake floors. Then today on the Rubin report, something was said and I responded, which using naturals, using organics, and how the very things that they're telling us to do, staying inside or masking up, are what is creating far more devastation than if we were out and about and doing everything we normally did and had windows open. Because this is the tragedy about most people's homes I walk into. It's really unfortunate. So let me tell you how I can help you no matter what your budget is. I've had really high-end clients, millions and millions of dollars for a budget, even on furnishings, just alone, and garden, and then those that didn't have much, and what we did to remedy some of that. Now, one of the things I want you to know is you too can have a natural, more organic home and not have to worry about a compromised immune system, about your children getting sick, about you breathing in toxins all the time, compromising our entire well-being and the structure of how our body operates. What I want to share, because one woman wrote back, responded when on Dave Rubin's post where I put it, she said, "That's all great. I love natural. I love organic. But if people can afford it, and it has nothing to do with what you can afford, I promise you, here are some tips for you. I hope they help. Listen up. Whenever I had a client, no matter what their budget, we laid out the intention of the beginning. I also then wrote down what was the most important things, like what is the most important room? What is the most important thing for you to feel? So we would write those down. So say, take a living room, because people like to gather in living rooms, the kitchen, how that people could talk to each other as the cook was in there, how people hung around there, how do we position the rooms, and also what is a priority and what isn't. Okay, if they had unlimited budget, like some of my clients, that wasn't an issue. Let's go to the person with the moderate or low income, or budget, I should say, not income, but just budget for this type of thing. For instance, I know that tile is usually cheap. The source that it comes from, unless it's a good old compacted thousands of year old mountain, say something from the old Italian beautiful terracottas, not the cheap Mexican ones that it was just because it wasn't condensed as much, the clay, can last hundreds of years. The Mexican ones fall apart in what? Or wherever they're coming from. The ones from China, wherever they're coming from. Actually, Vietnamese was an exception to that. They had some amazing pottery, except they started then outsourcing in China, and that stuff started falling apart. You get a freeze, you go freeze to hot to cold, all these, they start falling apart. Where all my Italian ones, the ones originally from Vietnam, amazing, last and last and last and last. So what I'm going to say to you is, here's how you create. One of the things is that I don't believe in landfill. I don't believe in poisoning Mother Earth any more than we have. And every time you go in, but this is the truth, buy something from IKEA, some piece of crap from China, some garbage thing that's synthetic from somebody that doesn't give a darn about the environment, your health. They're in it for profit. Okay, so when you buy these components from these companies that are mixed with mostly toxic plastics and pretend substances, they start falling apart. They don't last. So how do you get a more expensive thing like sofas? I can't tell you how many sofas go to landfill or thrown out on the street because they broke down after 2 years or 3 years or a very short time. It becomes this landfill with poisonous, toxic fabrics most of the time on them. They're not organic, they're not natural, they're toxic. That means you are sitting on something that's seeping into your blood. Do you understand that? You have a fake floor on that's wood, those wood-like floors. What do you think is seeping into your bare feet? Or especially when it gets hot, where these chemicals are released into the air, where your babies or grandchildren or somebody is on the floor with their hands, okay, not just breathing this off-putting of this stuff, but actually touching it, and then they touch their little faces, and then they touch their mouths, and they rub their eyes. We've got to see what we're doing and stop being totally asleep. Seriously, okay, so here's what we do. You say you can't afford a wood floor. Really? Try reclaimed woods. Yeah, they got more expensive because it was the fad, but believe me, you can find them. Tile, when I was in Hawaii and we bought a home, there was a 700, 800 square foot family room that looked out into the pool and palm trees and this, but I didn't have the budget at the time to do what I wanted, which was about a 20, 21 inch French limestone. Okay, that's what I wanted. Why? Because I'm a snob? No, because if I bought tile, what happens after a while? It cracks, it chips, it's made of God knows what, and that's fine. Some tiles are fine, but they don't last. I want things that last and last and last and can be passed down. So what I did is I didn't have the budget, and I don't remember how much it was at the time, $20 a square foot or something for a beautiful French limestone. I found a source that distributed to a lot of the big designers and homes. And what do they have? They usually have a 10% or more. They do an overrun, like they order more than they need just in case there's problems. So what happens to a lot of that? It ends up at the warehouse and they want to sell it. I ended up getting 21-inch French limestone, thick, a nice thickness, stone tiles, and was able to do it for cheaper than if I had bought inferior tile. Now, when a tile cracks, most of them aren't colored all the way through and it looks terrible, okay? Or if they are colored through, it just doesn't wear. It starts chipping away there. You crack a limestone, you can fill it. And it just looks like the regular fill that a limestone would have. And it gets more beautiful with age. The more you walk on it, the more you touch it, the more beautiful it gets. This has a history too. So it actually rises the vibration of your home. All right. It has this beautiful history of Mother Earth. It's fabulous. So here, it was during the time in Hawaii that tons of homes were being built, just tons. It was this boom in the 80s. And I couldn't get a tile setter. Nobody would do it for me. So I found out the daughter of a friend of my daughter's, her father, sorry, I kind of messed that up. Her father was a tile setter, but he didn't have time. But he said, I'll tell you what, I will lay out the first L, like in the middle of the room. I would have started in a corner, So he made the first pattern and he says, go from here. And I did it. And I was so pleased with myself because not only did I do the perfect job I wanted the tiles close. I wanted them to almost look like a total stone floor. And I didn't want to wash all that grout out. Like, you constantly have to wipe the grout, right? And I was making a mess, and I thought, hell, put a brush on a vacuum cleaner, those soft brushes. I ended up just vacuuming the stuff up. I found a whole nother way to lay tile, and it was gorgeous. And that thing just withstood everything. 3 kids dropping heavy metal toys on it, you name it, living, it was not a problem. Dining parties, food, whatever, it cleaned up beautifully. And it wasn't slippery. It came in from our pool area, which a tile could have been dangerous when your feet are wet. So it was multi-purpose, okay? And that'll last and last and last. And it'll go on, where the tile won't. It'll look crummy after a while, and people have to change it and tear it all up and all this crud in the air, right? So then the other thing was that what I found is I used to always go to consignment stores, like in better areas. So I got better pieces. I cannot tell you the furniture pieces I found. Yes, I have great taste. I was born with great taste. I have a sense of energy, like I can feel the energy of something way far away. Like I will just gravitate right to a high vibrational piece. I can tell a copy in a second by its vibration. Or if it is a copy, but somebody actually did it with love and integrity, there's a different vibration. So, but if it's something copied from China or some other place that was just done to make a profit, like stealing somebody else's design or just copying a good idea, because of what those people go through, like their lifestyle, the repression, the control, the manipulation, all the things that is trying to happen now in the United States, which won't. Well, hopefully it won't go much further than what the ridiculousness that it has. You get that energy. It's embedded in that piece. So no matter how good of a job they did, the energy is still negative. It's still, you are picking that up whether you're conscious of it or not. If you can feel energy or you can't. The more you wake up, the more you'll be able to feel it. But let me tell you, people that come in your home can feel it. They may not understand why a home feels really good and one doesn't, but it has a lot to do with what's in it, not just the people. So I had some of my sweetest, least expensive homes or rooms, people loved. They would tell me it felt like they were being healed. You know why? Because they were. Because every single thing put in was done for that reason, as something that had a high vibrational frequency. So say you can't afford a wood floor. So say you get a beautiful stone floor and then you go, it's cold under my feet, or get a rug, an area rug. So even if you have something inexpensive, say you already got stuck with a floor that is really plastic wood, put big area rugs on it. And don't put those synthetic things that are total chemical based. You can't afford a beautiful wool or wool and silk or, something that's beautifully organic and natural. Then get on Craigslist. Get to these consignment stores. Somebody moved. I found a 10 by 12 or 12 by 14 because somebody had to move into a smaller home. And what happened is they couldn't take it. And then trying to sell things, right? Trying to sell things is really difficult. So they ended up just putting in a consignment store, whatever they could get for it. It was amazing what I would find at these stores, okay? And the other thing was, even I could see what had the potential just with paint. I was trained in faux finishes and Venetian plaster and silver and gold leafing, that kind of stuff years ago. I would see something that looked maybe like an ugly brown credenza or ugly, somebody thought it was ugly, right? It was out of date. It wasn't in vogue anymore. I would take that and acid etch it, just acid wash it. And sometimes that's all it needed was this beautiful ashen color. And people are like, oh my gosh, or do these beautiful finishes on them. And ended up selling everything. for 10, 20, 30 times what I paid for it, because I just took the time to see beyond what it was in that moment, because the drawers had actual glides. They operated. They weren't these cheap things without metal glides. They didn't have plastic garbage inside. The drawers were real wood. So anything that's real, you can turn it into a gem. Now, what happened as IKEA started getting popular and people wanted their homes to look just like this or this, so they'd buy this garbage. It's garbage. It's landfill, okay? 18 months, couple years, it's frickin' landfill. I don't support that. We don't need to poison Mother Earth any more than we have. So what I would do is go into these consignment stores more and more and find more and more junk. Nothing I could refinish it, because they were cheap veneers. They were already peeling off, and underneath of it was just garbage, old used scraps of things, pressed together with glues. And it's really sad to watch. And people go, oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford the nice stuff. Yes, you can. And it can be a fun, wonderful adventure when you find these pieces that are really treasures. Also, here's another tip. Say your sofa. Say that's the most important piece of furniture you want in your living room, and say a really comfortable chair or 2 comfortable chairs and whatever. So your basics. So start with those. Spend the money on those. They don't break down after a couple years. They have good foams and good, the casing is good, like the feather and down, or if you can't do that, whatever they're putting in there. And then use a really beautiful natural fiber. Some of these beautiful chenilles, oh my God, and old mohairs, mohair will last, I don't know. I have a chair that was 100 years old with the mohair on it, and actually has that same sense of it gets more beautiful with age. And the colors they can do in it are amazing. So buy things that actually look better with age. Give you a sense of history or being well-traveled, instead of somebody that just went and picked garbage out of a catalog and matching this and matching that. Just one piece at a time, if that's what it takes. Stop trying to impress people with, oh, this beautiful home filled with crap, okay? Because that's what it is in the end. Unfortunately, it's not, because it doesn't decompose. It stays sometimes for thousands and tens of thousands of years and has already polluted our soil, got back into our bodies, into our waterways. So unfortunately, it's not even that good. But so you want an end table to put your glass, right? But you can't afford the end table you want. I will go find a tree stump, have somebody cut a tree stump totally flat and do a beautiful stain on it, or leave it as it is, polish the top, or put a piece of stone on the top. That, again, you can go to these stone places, do a tracing, pay for an overrun. Somebody cuts out their kitchen counters and they cut out where the sink is. That's a perfect place, right, to go. This is scrap for them. All right. So they're going to sell it really inexpensively. You give them the template, you have it cut either by a tile guy, or you could probably do it yourself, which I learned with a wet tile cutter. Wow, what I could do. So you put it on the top, but I just like it natural. I just maybe put a beautiful finish on the top, something that gives it a little, now I don't even like it like that. I don't mind the rings from a water glass or something. It's rustic, it's beautiful. Even if it's an elegant room, just stain it, an ashen gray or whatever if you want. It doesn't matter what you want, whitewash it, whatever. But just keep it in its most natural state. And this energy is wonderful. The energy that it gives you back. So I have had people where we put temporary, inexpensive things that were natural, that were organic, and they end up going, well, I don't really want to replace it now. I really like it. That same goes for one woman I had we had a long cocktail table, and it didn't work in her new place, so we're going to get a shorter one. The budget wasn't there, and in the meantime, I know she liked mixing kind of country Provence-y kind of style with some wood in it. So I found an old whiskey crate. I just came across it somewhere, 20 bucks. So it was quite a good size. It has the metal bands on the top. God forbid they broke their whiskey bottles, right? And we put it actually with instead of the opening being on the top where they had the lid to take off, I turned it towards her sofa. And what did she do? She filled it with books. So you couldn't see them. Only if you were sitting on the sofa, you had this collection of books. She didn't have this clutter all over the place. And then she put really nice art books on the top, and we put a vase of flowers. Okay, she loved it. How many years? 5 years ago? It's still there. So there's many things you can do. So I don't want to be told, oh, you have to have a big budget. That wood, that old wood, that whiskey crate was natural. It was not even new wood. It was old growth wood that is now keeps being recycled and recycled and recycled. Okay. It's not a pine that has been, they grow really fast because they destroyed so much of the old growth, and it's cheaper and it bends and it wobbles and the shelves aren't straight and all that kind of stuff. So just think about what your alternatives are. I sold a house several years ago that actually, this one I was leasing. It was after I sold my house and the woman bought all the furniture in that house. But one of my other ones I was leasing, when I needed to move and I didn't know where I was going to go, I put all my furniture on like a next door type of thing, just kind of advertisement. I just left them in the home and I shot pictures of them. I got more money from every single piece than I had paid for. Some of those pieces were 15 years old. You can't do that with IKEA or all these other artificial furniture, chemical things you're putting in your home. You can't do that. One man, actually, I had gotten 2 chairs at a really great consignment store that a really high-end hotel with some new management came in and removed everything in the lobby, which was more quality. You find the more quality things that don't fall apart in a higher end hotel. And there they were, these chairs. Now there was 4. I wish I could have afforded the 4, but I couldn't at the time, and I didn't know what I would do with the other 2. 450 bucks a piece. Okay, you might think that's a lot, but I knew those chairs had this gorgeous mohair on them. They had wood frames. I could cross my legs in them comfortably and meditate. I could sit comfortably. I could put a kidney pillow behind it, and you could sit then or just curl your legs up because you could pull back without the kidney pillow. And I bought 2 of them. So at 450 bucks a piece. Do you know what I sold each one of them for? 7 years later? Yeah, $3,000 a piece. A man came through my home. He said, my wife wants to redo this place we have here, a second home. I love your style and I want to buy these. And I said, no, I don't want to sell those because they go everywhere. They had this really interesting kind of lavender gray. I can't explain it, but it was like one of those colors in the mohair that you could put in any room and it looked good. Anywhere. Those chairs ended up everywhere in every type of environment. They were just awesome. And he said, well, how much would you sell them for? And I said, listen, if I have to replace them, it's going to be like $3,000 a piece, because I knew the company and maybe even more. He goes, fine, I'll give you $3,000 a piece. I said, okay. I wasn't even trying to sell them. Actually, I was trying to hold on to those. Every single piece that he bought, I got 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much money for. Why? Because they were quality pieces. Quality pieces that I either took the time to refinish, which wasn't even much in some cases, or just see the potential of it. Or so I'm just saying, keep your eyes open, and know that even if you don't have $450 for a chair, I mean, there's garbage chairs out there for $1,000 that start falling apart, that don't support your body. Seriously, wait till you can afford what you can. If you can't afford even that, say a $250 chair, get a good yoga pillow and sit and get everybody around and who knows what. But my gosh, start going to estate sales where people need to get rid of things because they're moving. They don't want to deal with it. Okay, they're over it. I always give them more if I recognize what it is.